time. The thread that holds the fabric of reality together. You can't see it, you can't hold it. Okay, I'll stop being dramatic. I couldn't figure out an intro for this video. We're talking about Ninjago's different eras. Okay, so the Ninjago franchise has been going on for like a really long time. The original TV series ended last year with the release of Ninjago Crystallized, but the franchise is fully set on continuing long into the future with one of its most ambitious and imaginative installments yet. With this show having ran for so long, there are distinct eras of it that set it apart from the rest of the show. So I figured I'd make a video talking about all these different eras, when they began and ended, and what separates them from the previous ones and the ones that came after. So I'm gonna say the most generic thing every YouTuber says now. Let's get into it. I'll also give my thoughts on these eras too. So the first era we have here is Ninjago's original run. This era ran from January 14th, 2011 to November 21st, 2012. This era started with the episode Way of the Ninja and ended with the episode Rise of the Spinjitzu Master. For those who don't know, Ninjago was supposed to end with season 2. This original run is about the ninja team forming, finding the green ninja, and then defeating the ultimate evil, the Overlord. It has some pretty consistent through lines like the ninja training, finding their true potential, and had some dope as hell villains like the Serpentine and the Stone Army. This original run laid the foundation for what the show would eventually become when it was revived. It did so much of the big world building that Ninjago still relied on all the way up to Crystallized, introduced so many iconic staples of the show, and is just all around, even to this day, an incredibly fun watch. Without this era, Ninjago as we know it would not exist. This franchise owes a lot to these seasons. But, as we all know, Ninjago didn't end with Season 2. Due to fan outcry, LEGO eventually caved in and revived the Ninjago brand. As a result, a lot of people choose to call this era the Revival Era. This era started with the release of the episode The Surge on January 29th, 2014, and ended with the episode Lost in Time, which released on May 26, 2017. This era is largely responsible for fleshing out what we saw in those original 2 seasons, such as major additions to the canon like the Realms, and adding more and more side characters to Ninjago's pile of regulars. I'm personally really nostalgic for this era, as this is the time I got into the Ninjago brand and the community and stuff. Minus some slip-ups like Rebooted, this was an excellent revival and continued the Ninjago series in such a good way. The villain designs were amazing. This era was the peak of the Fold's involvement with Ninjago. The fan projects at this time were just absolutely out of this world. This was just such a fun time to be a Ninjago fan, and I'm really nostalgic for it. That might make me a bit biased when I talk about it, but I don't care. If there's one thing Ninjago is really good at, it's changing, and that's an important thing for a show running this long. You need to make changes and shake-ups to the status quo so it will keep being interesting in the long term. And that's exactly what Ninjago's next era, the Oni Trilogy, did. This era started with the release of the episode The Mask of Deception, aired on January 20th, 2018, and ended with the release of the episode fittingly named Endings, released on February 9th, 2019. These 3 seasons are known for the darker take on the Ninjago franchise they had to offer, and the overarching plot of the Oni and the Dragon, which started with the ninja and the Sons of Garmadon tapping into Oni power and ended with a full-on invasion of the Oni on Ninjago. Many fans, myself included, consider this the absolute peak of the Ninjago franchise. This was the point where Ninjago stopped one-upping itself, and these seasons have been undefeated since. Does that mean what came after it was bad? No, it's just nothing was as good as these. These seasons carried over the movie designs for the Ninjago characters from the Ninjago movie and multiple plot points from that movie, such as the ninja versus evil Garmadon again. This was done in an effort to ease fans who were introduced from the movie into the Ninjago show. Was this a bad idea that only served to confuse both Ninjago movie fans and Ninjago show fans? Yeah, absolutely. So for that reason, the Ninjago creators were lucky that the execution of these ideas into the show was so amazing. These seasons were the peak of Ninjago for me. The hype from season 8 to 9 was just legendary, and season 10, whilst it is flawed, was a very strong conclusion to this era of the show in my opinion. Should have been the end of the entire show, but we're not getting into that discussion. This era was legendary, and I will always remember it fondly. This brings us into the final era of the original show, the 11-minute era. For years, Ninjago fans have been kind of unsure as to what to call this. It was called the Wild Brain era before Dragon's Rising came out, but Dragon's Rising is made by Wild Brain as well, so I don't really think that's the best name. In case you don't know, Wild Brain Studios is the animation company responsible for producing Ninjago from Season 11 through to Dragon's Rising. I've also seen people try to call it the Vengestone era because of the Vengestone plotline that bookends it, but like, the word Vengestone isn't mentioned in Season 11 once. Vengestone is focused on in these seasons maybe for about a minute of screen time at the most before Crystallized comes in. The only thing these episodes really have that are completely unique to them is the fact that they're the only ones that are 11 minutes long, so that's what I'm going to call them. This era began with a very fittingly titled episode, Wasted True Potential, on June 22nd, 2019. And it, along with the entire Ninjago series up to this point, ended with the episode Roots, released on October 1st, 2022. I have a lot of good memories of this era. Season 11 was definitely the high point of it for me, but Season 13 was also pretty good. Talking about this era is what kickstarted my entire YouTube channel, so that's a pretty big thing. And also talking about this era led me to meeting a lot of my current internet friends who I still talk to every day, which is also really cool. With the switch from Will Film Studios to WorldBrain Studios, Ninjago's animation and fight choreography was drastically improved, which is also a massive plus. In isolation, Seabound is a pretty great season as well. This era still is my least favorite era of the show. I'm not going to get into why in this video, but if you guys want a detailed description of that, let me know in the comments and I'll make it. Despite that though, I still do like a lot of what this era did, and I have some pretty great memories of it. Season 11 was a pretty big thing that carried me through the pandemic, which was really nice, and I met a lot of great people through this era. Still though, this was the weakest era of the Ninjago show, which was disappointing, especially so because this was the end of the original series. The 11-minute era of Ninjago was divisive. There were points where pretty much every fan could agree that LEGO fumbled, and going forward, the Ninjago brand had a lot to prove. It had to prove it wasn't stagnating, that it could survive into the future years going forward. They had to make a big change, something that would set the franchise up for years of new ideas and new stories and new voices. This is where the new era of the Ninjago franchise comes in, the current era that also started a new TV series, Dragons Rising. Talking about this era is a bit hard because it's ongoing and it's in its very early years at the minute. We don't have the benefit of hindsight like we had with eras like the 11-minute era or the Oni trilogy. So what I say could end up aging absolutely horribly, we don't really know, but screw it, we're taking a chance. Dragons Rising is the start of a new Ninjago series that began with the episode The Merge that released on June 1st, 2023. So far, fan reception has been universally positive, which is a huge far cry from the divisiveness of the previous era. Dragons Rising takes risks, it majorly changed the world by doing the merge. Watch this video if you want to know why that plot point is really good. The series also takes place 5+ years after the original series ends, so a lot of our characters are more matured now, and the series prominently features new main characters like Arin, Sora, and Ryu. During the 11-minute era, the original writers of Ninjago during seasons 1 to 10 said this about the series. If Ninjago has any chance to live on, it needs new voices, new stories, new characters. And going off of the first 10 episodes of Dragons Rising, they seem to be spot on. There's not really much to reminisce on at the minute because the era has barely just started, we haven't even finished our first season yet, but there is so much potential here and I am genuinely excited to see where it's going. So yeah, that's a breakdown of every single Ninjago era. If you found this video informative, you know what to do. You know what a YouTuber is going to beg you to do at the end of a video. If you want to watch more of my stuff, there should be end cards up on screen now for you to click on. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in another one. Goodbye for now.